Hello everybody, and welcome to WordCast number 67. That's the fourth time in a row that I've gotten the number right, so I'm pretty impressed with myself. I'm Ethan. This is what's your name again?
Daniel.
No, it's not. So anyway, welcome to WordCast number 67. We got a lot of good news this time. Actually, it's a pretty hefty week. We thought it was going to be kind of dull, but turns out there's some interesting things going on with the Pixel 3's launch, along with Intel and AMD doing quite a few interesting things. So I think it's going to be a good episode overall.
Yeah, I'm happy to shit talk Google.
Yeah. And in the middle of it somewhere, FedEx as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that'll be fun. So anyway, I guess we'll jump into the Pixel 3 mess. Now, when you say that, do you mean like mess, like the Pixel 3 went to the bathroom, or do you mean
I wish that would be much less messy.
Oh, it's that bad?
Yeah, so the Pixel 3 launch has seen a host of issues, and no, we're not talking about people just bitching about the notch because they like to bitch about the notch.
But like actual things that are talkable. That's why it's our first topic this time.
Yeah, so the first one is pretty annoying at a minimum and really bad to say, the least.
Yeah.
Essentially what's happening is... So, with wireless charging, every phone pretty much uses the Qi standard.
That's common, even Apple.
Yeah. The Qi standard, for the longest time, only had 5-watt wireless charging built into the standard. So, when Samsung wanted to release a fast charger,
they had to make their own. Yeah.
However, it's been pretty much anyone could just make the chargers, make the phones that support this. It's been almost a standard, in a way.
Yeah.
And in the meantime... Since then, the Qi charging standard has implemented its own all the way up to 15-watt wireless charging.
I didn't know it went to 15. I thought it was still at like 10.
No.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it goes up to 15.
Now, has anybody made that yet in a phone?
Razer has implemented so nobody until the Razer Phone 2 has even implemented a standard of the standard above 5 watts. Razer's the first one to do that.
Are they doing 10?
They're doing 11.
Oh. So they okay, that's still one more than this.
Yeah. So if you get a 15-watt charger, it'll do 11. There is no 15-watt chargers yet, but future-proofing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it does 11. But with the Pixel, it supports 10-watt wireless fast charging. And so you would think that because it's not using the standard, it probably would have used whatever Samsung's doing. Now... So, if you heard about the Pixel stand, and we had talked about this, how it does a secure handshake with the charger, or the phone and the charger do a secure handshake together, and that's supposed to have been specifically for the software on the Pixel.
Yeah, the idea was it knows what stand you're using.
Yes.
Yeah.
Turns out it's also for the sake of doing fast charging or any wireless charging above 5 watts. So if you buy like a Anker 7.5 watt wireless charger like I have, only do 5.
Yep. It denies anything more than that.
Yeah.
So you have to buy the Google one to do 10 watts.
Yes.
Now that's ridiculous in itself, and Google's reasoning was...
Apparently 5 watts is all Qi charging does.
Which is like,
not
excuse
true.
Me, no, it does literally 3 times that, so... and like you said, even Apple didn't do this. Even Apple.
Yeah, you can't even make the argument that Google's Qi charging implementation, like their the standard that they chose to go on, was started or like worked on or made before the 15-watt was implemented.
Yeah.
Because 15-watt was a part of the Qi charging standard since 1.2.
Well, aside from 15-watt, 10-watt.
Yeah. I'm just saying, the current existing option was implemented in Qi 1.2. They're using Qi 1.2.4. So they're using a newer standard. They just chose to go with the base option, and then they made
that at that point it had like the only option here is basically it has to be them wanting to make money off of their $80 charger.
The only other thing that I can think of as just like me trying to do mental gymnastics to justify this, is maybe somehow in their $900 budget for their Pixel 3 XL they couldn't afford to buy the chargers, and it was somehow cheaper for them to develop their own standard. No.
Okay, if that's the truth, they need to say that. You know what I mean? So already I kind of doubt that because they've already made up dumb excuses. But if the truth was a good reason like that,
Yeah.
You know, so at this point, it seems like it's just for profit. And Google's been pulling more moves like this recently that are getting on my nerves.
Yeah.
I don't like... I feel almost like ever since they removed Don't Be Evil from their name, they've started to do more sketchy stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I want to make sure one thing's clear. There is options for third parties to build wireless chargers that meet Google's standard. Belkin is working on one that will be $60 when it releases, which is still absurd when you can get an Anchor charger for $15.
That does 7.5, right? Yeah.
And you can get
and
10 watts for like 20, 30.
Yeah, probably like 30. Yeah. 25 on sale. 20
so-
Black Friday.
Yeah. So we don't know if Google may be charging a licensing fee. We don't know if maybe it's just the cost of the tech to implement the secure handshake, because it is doing some unique communication.
Yeah, right. But at that point, they should still be allowing it to use higher capacity chargers, right? It just won't recognize what charger it's using at that point.
Yeah.
And then, what they should do ideally is when it's not on a Google specific charger, right, that it can recognize, it also has a settings mode for that, right? And then you have the Google chargers that can be separate from that.
So essentially, what's happening is that they are certifying the chargers to work with them. There's like a certain minimum quality threshold. I just don't know if that also comes with maybe Google's pulling an Apple Lightning port and like getting money out of this,
or if it's more so we want it to be able to have the capabilities of ours.
Yeah,
right,
or they want it to be, you know, I could see them having made the justification that they went with this over Qi for the sake of the battery tech and making sure it doesn't heat up much. But that being said,
again, they need to say that.
And also,
if that was the
they're
case,
part of the alliance for Qi charging. They should be trying to improve that.
Yeah, they should. So this is like
all of this tech is stuff that should have just been going
again,
to
this is all starting to go along with, you know, the Pixel's not stock Android anymore. The Pixel is a Google made phone. It's not, I mean, it's not literally manufactured.
It really is the iPhone of Android phones.
It is, and it's no. That's not the point of that OS. Your competitive points, Google, against Apple, your competitive points of your platform have been what you're throwing away.
So,
like, you know what I mean?
No.
I mean, I understand there's some advantages that come to doing it a certain way, right? But what I mean is they're inherently taking away of other points that are what make Android as an ecosystem competitive with Apple in a different way. There's a reason that the nerds like it.
So,
you know.
Yes, I agree and disagree. Android is so big, though, as an OS. It's 85% of the smartphone market share worldwide. It is so big that there is not really growth for the OS at this point.
That's true.
Except for population growth.
Yes.
It's so big that money growth is going to come from them taking that market share. And so they have to actually legitimately compete with the people that make the phones for them, because that's the only way to grow.
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, we're reaching a point, and especially with what's happening in Europe now. Now, this was obviously all after the Pixel 3 was developed.
Yeah.
But with what's happening in Europe now, we are going to see, I think, Android almost be more akin to the Linux kernel as far as just being a base thing that people make OSs on. I wouldn't doubt if, especially in Europe, we see, you know, Microsoft make a Surface phone that might have the Play Store, but then has Bing and Edge preloaded, and Microsoft.
It's Android. Yeah.
And then, I mean, we are gonna see. I think we are gonna see maybe a push from Amazon again to try and get other companies to use their app store. We're gonna start seeing Android compete with Android.
Which I guess is good. Okay, I guess. And so Google making their own. Okay.
If they were doing a good job at the quality control aspects of it, which we'll talk about in a second, then I think that there could be a case for having an iPhone-like on Android.
I think so too. Okay. I don't disagree with you, actually. I guess what my feelings come from is I'm a purely stock Android guy, right? And that is almost not a thing anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, the closest you can get to that, never thought I'd say this, is BlackBerry. Mm-hmm. And Motorola, kind of, yeah, Motorola, although they're kind of in the same boat as Google, as it's close, but there's stuff they've done, right? and I mean BlackBerry's done stuff too, but it's basically D-Tech, you know.
Yeah.
And so I guess I kind of miss the days of Nexus still. I'm still one of those people. I miss the days of Nexus. I kind of wish that line had kept going and had been spun off separate from the Pixel.
Yeah,
you know?
What I really miss was the Google Play Edition phones.
Or that I was fine with too. That was the best way to... Okay, actually, I'll go back and agree. You know what? Without Nexus, if that was still around, I'm perfectly okay with it, right? And it's funny because this is coming from a guy that's never owned a Nexus phone, but that wasn't exactly my fault. Anyway, but the Google Play Edition, right? I mean, I've installed custom ROMs on lots of phones, especially Samsung phones, and to make them essentially stock Android. And I feel almost like the Google Play Edition phones kind of killed off the people doing a lot of the custom like stock Android like CyanogenMod and stuff. And now it's not a thing anymore. And I don't understand why, because the devices are already manufactured. It's not like it's extra work to just not put the additives on it, right? You know what I mean? I mean, it's a different OS, but I mean, it's not like it's a ton of extra work.
Yeah. Ultimately, it comes down to a couple of things. The most important being smartphone manufacturers make more money by bloating the phone.
It's true.
And
but
so why would they sell a device, the same version of the device that's going to make them less money?
Because it's only going to make them less money, because it's not on carriers and stuff, right? It's only going to make them less money for the people that wouldn't buy their phone in the first place. So it's like, okay, you can get $100, as a random example, from all these users, right? And then you have these users that want stock Android that will not buy your phone. And then you release a stock Android version of your phone, you're only making $50 off them. But you're making some of that market share instead of them going to something else, right? If that makes sense. So I feel like there's still a good market for it, and it's still a good business plan, and they just kind of have dropped the ball on it, unfortunately. Yeah. So what I actually didn't really read into this one at all, even though you wrote it up here. Memory management. What's going on there?
So the Pixel 3 has been having a massive issue with memory management.
And it's purely because of 4 gigabytes of RAM, like I talked about when it came out.
Shut up. No, so a lot of people have been making...
Okay, let's be honest, when they fix this issue, though, it's probably still going to be a problem. But we'll have to wait. Now we have to wait and see longer.
Okay, 4 gigs is not a problem on the Pixel 2. So I don't see it being a problem on the Pixel 3. But let me get into this.
Okay, there's a difference.
Because I don't want to have that debate.
I know, but I just wanted to say that there's a difference between a problem and a genuine benefit, right? Being able to have more than 6 apps open at a time.
I can have more than 6 apps open on my Pixel 2. I'm just saying.
I mean...
I think that the Pixel 2, until Google fucked it up with the Pixel 3, Google's memory management for their Pixel was better than most Android phones.
Okay.
And that comes from being the benefit of not being stock Android.
Yeah, it's true.
So essentially what's going on here is that people started noticing that even when their phone used nowhere near 4 gigs of RAM, like phones that were at like 2.8 gigabytes of RAM usage, started closing apps, and not just like closing apps that weren't being used for a while. We're talking like things like Spotify or Pocket Casts that were actively playing audio.
Oh no.
Yes.
That's bad.
Like just shutting things down that were active to free up RAM. And so obviously that's a really big issue. That's a really odd issue. Android's almost never had that issue.
Yeah.
And so then everyone blamed the 4 gigs of RAM because they don't understand how Android works.
Oh, yeah, no, because there's no, even on phones with a lot less RAM, there's no reason that those apps would close.
Those take a priority over every other background app.
They do. Literally, things will be slower before those close.
And so a lot of people have been trying to figure out what's going on. Now, Google said that they're going to be fixing this. All they've said is in the coming weeks it'll be fixed. But that's all we know. But a kernel dev was looking into some of the things with Android on the Pixel 3, and it looks like there were some things that they changed involving memory management that look like they're leading to this. The biggest thing is that Google has changed how they handle low memory states. I don't know enough about kernel, so I didn't want to go into detail on this.
Yeah.
But essentially they made a change that it looks like is causing this problem. And to make things worse, it looks like there's also a memory leak issue with the kernel of the Pixel 3.
Oh.
And so the phone's leaking memory, and then when it gets into a low memory state, it's way overly aggressively killing apps.
Okay.
Even so far as some people said that their bar at the bottom, like their control bar for their phone, has closed. Yeah.
That's a significant issue. That's...
Yeah.
Okay, my question is, how did that not come up in testing?
Because it's not happening to everyone. Meaning, probably my guess is that the biggest thing affecting this, ultimately, it is an overly aggressive app killing. However, I think the memory leak is the core thing as to why this is as big of a problem. And I'm wondering if the memory leak is while doing certain tasks. And so they didn't notice it because they didn't do those specific tasks, and now that a lot more people have the phone, those tasks are happening.
Yeah. Okay, maybe so.
Yeah, very interesting. This needs to get fixed as soon as possible. Yeah, so people are also theorizing. I don't really think this is true, but people are theorizing that this also might be tied into the next thing we're going to talk about, which is the issue with how photos are not being saved all the time on certain phones. Now, this started out, people started talking about it as a Pixel issue. It is not a Pixel-specific issue. It is an Android issue. Essentially what is happening is that in rare cases, when you take a picture and then immediately close the camera application.
Oh, yeah, that's been an issue for a while. Yeah.
But people are noticing it because HDR on, computational photography takes a little bit longer to process.
Yeah.
And potentially because of maybe there was a change in the camera app and how it handled because I know on my Pixel 2, what would happen is generally when you take a photo using the computational photography, it would save the photo and the data and then process it. And I think what's happening is that in an effort to get it processed faster so that you don't do what happens on the Pixel 2 where you look at the photo and it's still loading. If you go straight into your camera app. I think Google did something where it starts processing while it's saving. Okay. And so now we're having this problem on the Pixel, which wasn't really that much of an issue before.
Okay, that makes sense.
It was an issue, but I think it's more widespread.
Like I said, this has been an Android issue for a while, though, because on my S8, I can't tell you how many times I've taken a photo and had it not saved.
Yeah.
Now, that happens more commonly. So another scenario that this can actually happen in is not just when you close the camera app. But if you pull out your phone, you have a lock screen with an actual lock pattern on it. Double tap the power button or whatever your command is to open up the camera. Right? You snap that picture, right, and then you lock the phone immediately. When you do that locking of the phone, it won't save either.
Yeah.
And that's been a problem where I've missed some seriously amazing stuff that I'd really like to get that I can't because of this issue.
Yeah. So it's confirmed on the Pixel 3, Pixel 2, Galaxy phones, Motorola phones. It's pretty much just...
My BlackBerry's done it. Yep.
Yeah. It's just an Android issue. However, it just seems like because of the way HDR is processing on the Pixel 3, it's happening to more Pixel 3s than it did previous phones.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if the photo's taking longer to physically save, right, if there's a delay, right, it's more likely that somebody... Because people commonly take the photo, close the app. Close the app.
Since people like to blame software issues on 4 gigs of RAM, I'm going to blame this on not using NVMe.
Okay, let's be fair. That would help. Yes. That would help with this. Yeah. But, in terms of like the S8 and my BlackBerry and stuff like that, they take the photo fast enough that usually it hasn't been a problem. I was actually confused about it until I learned about this being a thing. Yeah. I was confused about why my photos weren't being saved because usually they're near instantaneous, and so you can snap the photo, and by the time you reach down and hit the home screen button, the photo's saved. But if you're doing processing and stuff beforehand, more in depth... I can understand why this would be an issue. My assumption is that
it starts both at the same time.
I just like how Google didn't care about fixing it until it was a problem on their phone.
Yeah. Well, and again,
it's a bigger problem on their phone.
Yeah, and I do think it comes down to something that they changed for the Pixel 3 that was attempting to make things better, and it just broke this because they're saying that they have an update coming whenever they can fix the issue in the next couple weeks. But it doesn't sound like it's just an part of an Android update. Whereas if it was a actual fix system wide, they would wait for an Android update.
They would, yeah.
So I think that this is fixing the Pixel specific aspect that's making it worse.
Yeah, but not Android as a whole.
Yes.
Which would be really nice if they could just freaking fix that. And see, these are the things that iPhone doesn't do.
Yeah. But also, I mean, when it comes to the iPhone, you have one set of hardware, one set of software to fix this problem.
Oh, yeah. I'm saying that's a example, though, of advantages in that direction. So, okay. And also, you still haven't got yours yet.
I hate FedEx.
So at this point, are you sure you're just gonna cancel the order when you can?
Yeah. So essentially, what happened? So my Pixel 3 was supposed to be delivered on Friday the 19th. It is currently, as of the time we're recording this, the 23rd. What I've been told is that I will either get it tomorrow, or I just won't hear anything back from FedEx, and I should contact Google, which is absurd. Now, this extra time waiting kind of helped me because between the stuff going on with Google as far as wireless charging and all this other stuff and some other purchases I've made, I've decided that I'm just going to not keep it. So either I get it tomorrow and I initiate a return, or I contact Google and go through that process, and hopefully they can just cancel the order instead of sending me another one.
Yeah.
But I'm just not going to deal with... I'm just going to keep using my iPhone and my Pixel 2.
Yeah. And I'm kind of in the same boat with a lot of stuff, as I don't really feel like supporting Google right now until they get some of their shit together.
Well, and then, I mean, the other thing is that with the Pixel 3, the two biggest upgrades are the screen is better and the camera is slightly better. But we're not talking like...
I mean, I'd say it's significantly better, but the old one's so good anyway.
No, it's... So the thing is that it's... The actual quality of the camera is slightly better. However, they are going for a little bit more of an iPhone-like... they're going for making their photos slightly more iPhone-like, in that most of the differences that we're seeing are not in quality, but in just general choices in the photography, like color temperature. The Pixel 3 tends to be a little bit warmer, not because it's going for more warm than natural photos, but because the Pixel 2 was slightly cooler in general. And so that's the thing, is that ultimately, other than the few Pixel 3 specific features and the wide front camera, the couple software features, the Pixel 2 for like standard photos that you take
it's still astonishingly good. So I think it's I think the smart decision is to cancel.
I'm just gonna wait till the Pixel 4, and if Google fixes their crap and stops being a dick, then I'm
in the boat where I'm a bit frustrated with them. You know, it's I don't really use them as a search engine anymore. But also, I mean, if we go through the rundown of things they've let us down on over the last, let's say, 2 years, right? We've got Inbox, we've got Google Wi-Fi, we've got Google Plus, we've got Hangouts, kinda, we've got Google Fiber, right? And maybe Fiber wasn't really their fault, but still, right? It's like, I feel like it's hard to trust what they do now. It's hard to trust a service or a product that they provide, whereas I feel like there's other companies that even when they mess up, they stick with supporting that product.
On a side note, while I'm thinking about it, while we're ragging on Google, if you have the Google News app installed and you are on a limited data plan where you will get charged for going over, disable the app.
Yeah.
It's been using gigabytes of data in the background.
And it's like every company has issues and goes through ups and downs.
No, this was not specific to the general Google issues. It's just like, I just thought of it. I'm like, this will
like
save you money.
Yeah. Because like I have Google Wi-Fi here at home, right? And I've been talking to their support for some issues we've been having, and they basically told me a bunch of crap that is not what would be relevant to fixing my issue. And then even better is I finally just told them, look, I'm an IT major and a network major. I manage a corporate IT network, and told them I'm going to diagnose this myself and let you guys know what the solution is, because you guys aren't being helpful. And they basically said, okay. And interestingly enough, though, 4 days after I initially contacted their support, they pushed out an update that seems to have fixed my problem. So interesting stuff there. We'll see. But
so to me, I think that the biggest problem is actually just in general Google's management of their projects. Google's kind of at the point right now as a whole, from what best I can see, that Microsoft is with their Windows development, in that it seems like they don't have a direction. It seems like they're just making stuff. When you look at stuff like the Google Home platform for the versions that have displays, the third-party stuff is made on a completely different platform than the Google official Home Hub. The Home Hub is built on Cast. Everything else is built on more standardized, like just actual hardware. Which means Google has to then build two different versions to make this work correctly. And so, which one are they going to kill off first?
Yeah.
Is my Home Hub not going to get updates after a year, or is Google going to screw over their third-party manufacturers?
And there's been other other instances of.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, I would say.
And then also, it seems like Google's kind of like done with Android, and they're like making a move towards Chrome OS being their main OS,
which is weird. And then I don't know. I feel like they've also been. I don't know. I feel like it's still a difference from Microsoft, right? Versus Microsoft, because I feel like Microsoft maybe doesn't have a direction, but I feel like Microsoft has better testing of what they do, right? And so, I mean, 1809, I know, had some serious issues. But what I mean is in general, they've got the Insider program. They really promote beta testers of, rather than, oh, you get to try our crap early, but more so like, we want this ecosystem of people to help us. And I don't feel like Google does as good of a job of that aspect there, where it's more like, oh, you want to try this new thing? Well, here, Inbox, it's a beta, except we never implemented it and then we killed it.
Yeah.
And it's like, what incentive do people have to help you with a product like Inbox or Google Plus or even Google Wi-Fi, where it's like, but you guys stop caring about it. And I feel almost like their development team and their team of whatever team gets bored. They're like, oh, Google Wi-Fi, look, it'd be really awesome. Let's revamp home Wi-Fi, do this really, really cool thing. You control it from an app. It works really good. It's got a hosted controller, blah, 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 blah. And then they were like, we made some money, but I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of the boat I'm in, and it makes me want to switch over, actually, to more Microsoft-like companies that are more enterprise and the like focused, right?
Well, I mean, and this comes back to why despite having problems with certain decisions Apple makes, I really like Apple in that it seems like when they release a product, even if it's not close to that point yet, even if it's just like the Apple Watch's Gen 1 where it was like a kind of crappy first product.
It was, yeah.
They always have like an end goal they want to work towards.
And I would say
with it.
Yeah, that's the important part. Yeah, because I would say Google probably has end goals too. They just give up.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Apple, I don't even know sometimes if Google has end goals.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
that they
might
just kind of
sometimes
like
just be like
release a product. They're like, oh, that did well. Okay, here's a upgrade.
Yeah,
then,
which is funny because Google Wi-Fi, though, sold incredibly well, and yet they've kind of neglected it.
Yeah.
And
but Apple just tends to follow through.
They do.
And complete their vision. They don't just release a product line because they can.
Yeah.
They do it because they see a legitimate use case for it long term.
And, you know, there's a little bit of evidence that business plan works.
Yeah.
They're only, you know, the richest company on the planet. Like, you know, it's like, and they're not the highest valued, are they?
I think Amazon passed them.
I thought there was another company, because I know they have the most cash on hand of any company in the world, as far as I understand.
Because Apple is first to trillion valuation in the U.S. Right,
and they have a $250 billion in cash on hand.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of funny when you think about that dynamic there. But yeah. So I'm in agreement with that. I'd like Google to maybe do a little better job with that kind of stuff, because it's like you look at Gmail as an example. What they're capable of doing if they really do push something long term. They have a great team of engineers and ideas, and if they could just follow through with it, you know, it'd be nice, because I'm just using all these other sources now instead. You know?
Realistically, I think what needs to happen is, for one, Android needs to be spun off as its own company, like its own part of Alphabet.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean,
then
you've got A.
Yeah, and then the Google Home division needs to not be Nest plus Home plus whatever random other thing.
Google Wi-Fi being part of that, actually, because they're all like, it's integrated, so you can use Google Wi-Fi to control it.
So I think that the Home division needs to just be its own thing with its own person, with, you know, an actual like end goal in mind of like, how is this consumer-based smart home without requiring custom wiring and stuff gonna actually be? Not just we'll release products because they sound cool or because Amazon's doing them. Yeah,
because there's that. And like Amazon's, you know, tactic with the smart home stuff has been
sell everything.
Exactly. And I think that's what it's going to take. Right? You know, I think smart outlets, Echo Dots, Echo Plus, Echo Sub, you know, Echo thermostats, Echo microwave, I think all of that, I think it comes down to that's a really good business move for this kind of stuff.
I think that Google could be just fine if they just figured out the platform of it very well, and then helped facilitate that, and tried to be almost the Android of the smart home.
Okay, maybe so, yeah, because I think with smart home, especially voice control, it's a matter of getting it into products that people don't buy because voice control, right? Like the microwave.
The microwave is dumb.
I don't think so.
Let me, instead of pressing potato, press a button and then yell at a different device and say 1 potato.
No, it's got it built in.
No, it does not.
Or
it's got a button that activates a separate device. You still have to have an Alexa nearby enough it can hear you.
Stop. Yeah.
But it's like, and it doesn't really add that much benefit, I feel like. It might save you from pressing potato once and then hitting start. You press talk and then you yell potato.
Okay, well, there's truth to that though. Okay, some of the justification,
popcorn.
Some of this justification though still comes down to people using features on their microwave that they wouldn't before, because it's not like a microwave. Oh, it's got 680,000 buttons on it, one for each food. You know what I mean?
But this doesn't have buttons. It has buttons for it has voice control for like the standard things.
But it also has voice control for power settings and stuff like that too. And so I think that's where the benefit comes into play a little more.
One button.
Power settings?
Yeah.
Power settings on most microwaves requires, like, if you wanted to do, like, 30% power, you've got to press the power button 7 times, then set your timer, then press start.
Well, that's just dumb design. You should just press power 30 start. Or 30 time start.
I suppose. I'm saying a lot aren't that way. But anyway, we're going off on we're digressing like crazy talking about microwaves.
It's also too small for most people, I feel like,
and it's not very powerful either. Yeah, but it's a step.
But yeah, I feel like Google could just do a good job or be very, very successful in home and compete with Amazon with just releasing a good platform and helping ensure that it's easy to make good products for that platform.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, because the smart home market is just a cluster of crap.
I really hope that, I know that there's been a lot of trouble at Essential. The thing that I was excited for was never their phone. It was their smart home stuff, because their smart home stuff was supposed to be that. It was supposed to be the OS that worked with everything and helped make everything a good experience. And it was being made by the guy who made Android.
Yeah.
I really hope that does well, because I think that is what is needed more than a company just taking over the entire market for your products.
I agree. But we should probably move on, because we do still have a lot more to talk about. So,
yeah, we do. Speaking of Microsoft, which we just talked about, some major steps have moved forward. So yeah, let's move on. Speaking of Microsoft that we just talked about, some major steps have gone forward as far as the GitHub acquisition. Mm-hmm. The most important thing being that the EU has approved the acquisition, which is great, because that was a very big step to get past. Ultimately, the EU said that they don't really think this will have an impact on competition, because for one,
GitLab is saw as high.
What?
That's what it says. GitLab is saw. I'm just giving you crap.
Wow. Okay. I should have just taken out is.
Oh, it's fine. I'm leaving it in. I'm leaving all that in there, bud.
But yeah, so the EU found that it shouldn't have that much impact on competition, because it's not like Microsoft is buying up one of their competitors and taking away a competitor.
No, right.
Microsoft doesn't do this, so they're just changing who owns the thing that does this. It's not reducing an option.
No, it's not. And I mean, I'm...
And then on top of that...
I'm more okay with Microsoft buying them than just about anybody else.
Yeah.
So.
Especially with the moves they've made recently to show that they're serious about open source. With
Microsoft's been better about that kind of stuff.
They've been better about open source than Google.
They've been better about, like, everything. I mean, I've been seeing Microsoft as... I feel like they've just been improving as a company. And I never downright, like, hated them or disliked them that much, especially because they do a lot of work on the education front. I'd argue more than anybody. They do a lot... And I don't mean, like, just getting their shit in schools. I mean, like, teaching people how to use their products. But I think they've also, they do a lot in terms of innovation in the enterprise market in terms of, you know, the new underwater data centers. They've done a lot of underwater trans-Pacific wiring and stuff like that, right? And I think that I'm like over time starting to like them more as a company, and I didn't really
pretty much if they get their shit together with Windows, they'd be a really solid.
Yeah, and let's be honest with Windows, with the 1809 update, let's be honest, they didn't push it out.
No, I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about
in general, like
releasing pointless features instead of fixing long-term problems, things like that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been some not pointless features too, but
yeah,
I mean,
but I'm not
like adding
about
like
those.
I understand that, but I mean, I guess more so, I don't have a problem with pointless features. I have a problem with them advertising it as a huge update when it was like, you added a dark theme for Windows Explorer, and you added a right-click to launch a Linux shell.
Again, to me, it comes down to it doesn't seem like they have a thing they're working towards. It seems like they just hear, like, you know, they just say, hey, what do you want to work on? Go, okay.
Yeah, and, you know, I think maybe they had more of a vision when Windows Phone and stuff was still around, and now that that's dead, it's like, I don't know where they're going, but... I mean, they've been doing work on their scheduler with AMD and stuff too to help with that stuff. So I mean, I think the back end, the things like stability and other stuff like that has been over time improving and getting better. Again, aside from 1809 fiascos, but I think you're right. I think future ideas for it, rather than just it being like another Windows OS that just gets updates and is the same thing the whole time, and then there's a new version.
I feel like at the very least, what they need to do is be like, what about Windows is good, and what needs to be worked on. What things can we add to say, hey, we added this? Because ultimately, adding features to Windows that are not a big, like, that don't affect a lot of people. Unless, I get the creator features because you're trying to steal market share from Apple, but outside of that, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, and I mean also there is and there is improvement. I mean, I kind of like experimental stuff like that though,
but a lot of times it's not experimental stuff with like a purpose. That's what I'm getting at. Is like, it doesn't seem like they have like a here's where we want Windows to end up.
I agree, but I guess I would say I want them to do that, but I'm still okay with what they have been doing. I'm just not overly impressed, I guess.
But that's why, like, what they realistically they need to have that end goal, and then just give their employees some time for experimentation. But that doesn't mean they need to push all of it out.
Okay, I mean that's true. That's what Microsoft's Garage is for,
It seems like
right?
what they did was they said, okay, what we're going to do with the Windows team is give you guys free time and everything gets put in Windows.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, I think there's...
And that free time is 90% of your job. 10% of it is bug fixes.
Yeah, because, yeah. And I mean, I guess other things, too, that they could focus on, and this relates into Windows, is things like the Xbox app still sucking.
Yeah, they need to work on...
And, like, game mode still sucking on high-end systems, right? Game mode is great on low-end systems, and mid-range systems it's pretty good, but game mode on high-end systems literally breaks everything. Yeah. And that's a whole other conversation.
Like, I feel like their priorities right now should be fixing game mode, because gaming is booming on PC.
Yeah. Well, and especially when we have... thanks to AMD, let's be realistic, such high core count PCs where you're more likely to have more stuff happening, right? When you have these higher end 8 core, 12 core, 16 core machines, I think a game mode that prioritizes the game but doesn't slow everything else to a halt is ideal. Because right now, like if I go on there, right, and I'm rendering something, my render slows down. It would literally take days to complete in game mode. Because rather than prioritizing the game, it slows everything else down. Yeah. And I think that's something they could fix along with the app.
Yeah, so working on the gaming aspects, because that's a huge thing. Working on bug fixes, stability, memory leaks, things like that. Huge thing that needs to be dealt with. And then work on figuring out what they want to do with the Windows Store, because it seems like they just kind of have it.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of been...
to figure something out with that.
Yes.
And then do that.
I agree. There hasn't been a ton going on with that. And I mean, a part of that comes down to just the Windows is... Microsoft made a big push to make Windows more like Android and iOS, right? They made a big push to make it feel more that way because they had the phone market. And everybody told them, don't do it. Nobody wants this.
Yeah.
And now we're back in a situation where, guess what? The Windows Store kind of sucks, and Windows is just Windows again.
The Windows Store needs to be more like the Mac OS App Store.
Yeah, I agree. Or the Chrome OS Store would be a maybe okay example of that, right? I agree. Because right now, like, the only reason I've launched it recently is to install Ubuntu, which is like... Those are the kind of things I actually would like to see them doing more of, is more unique stuff rather than just Candy Crush.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I'd like seeing things like, oh, you want to get Ubuntu? Go to the Windows app.
And fuck that pre-installed game shit.
Oh, yeah, and please stop doing that. I get you get paid for it, but that's so annoying. Or, well, what they are doing in the next Windows update, in case you didn't see, though, they are making it a lot easier to uninstall those apps. You can literally hit the Windows key, and you just right-click the icon and click on install, and it removes it.
So it should have been... from the beginning. Well, no, it shouldn't have been there from the beginning, so...
I mean, but I get that they want the financial... Okay, put it this way. I think that's a compromise that I accept, because I get they want the money from it, and if it's as easy as literally tap, click, click, then I'm more okay with it. Especially because Windows apps uninstall in the background. You never see another prompt. You just click it.
So I think that what it should be instead is, I think it should be how Apple handles some of their not pre-installed apps that they have. Where Apple, instead of pre-installing everything, Apple has icons that if you click on, it'll prompt you to install it.
Because it does take up extra space if you have them actually installed.
It'll prompt you to install it or delete it. So I think that what it should be is that if they want to, charge as much for OSs and then put ads on it, they should have it be a Candy Crush icon, and if you click on it, you can delete it without right-click. Like, you literally just click delete or click install.
That's better for security, too, because what if Candy Crush had a big bug or something like that in Windows that either caused security problems or caused stability problems, and it's like, oh, well, every machine has it, And also Microsoft, this is actually one really, really big one before we move on to the next topic that really bothers me. On your Pro for Workstation, and Enterprise editions, stop including pre-installed games. I'm sorry, when I pay $400 for a copy of Windows, you need to not put anything on there that's making you extra money.
Get over it.
That makes me mad.
It doesn't make me mad?
The fact that AMD is doing amazing stuff.
Yeah, 13% IPC gains don't make me mad if that's true.
Not at all. So take this with a grain of salt, guys. This report was from... so WCCF Tech reported it, but it was Bits and Chips is the original place that tweeted about this. But it looks like, rumor has it, Zen 2, not Zen Plus, not Ryzen 2. This would be Ryzen 3... Zen 2 architecture, right, is going to have up to a 13% IPC improvement. So from what the report said is like somewhere between 10 and 15%, basically, depending on application. Now, that's a huge deal. I don't think people are understanding, if that's true, how big of a deal that is, because Zen Plus was already 3% over Zen. This is 13% over Zen Plus. And Zen Plus is very close in terms of IPC to Intel. Some reviewers going as far to call it near identical. And of course, you do have the clock speed advantages that Intel still has. But a 13% IPC improvement, along with clock speeds hitting, rumor has it, 4.5 gigahertz in the lab. That right there, which means maybe we could even see 4.6 stable on some situations, maybe 4.7, although I'm not going to cross my fingers on that one. But if you're looking at like 4.6 gigahertz plus 13% IPC, so let's say we're looking at like 10% IPC over Intel, that would put that. This means this could potentially be putting AMD in a position where they're not only the better for your wallet option and the best option, period, faster. And that means Intel needs to get their 10 nanometer on track, because if Intel doesn't, this looks like their 7 nanometer from Zen 2 might surpass Intel. And then at that point, why would you buy Intel? You spend less money, you get better IPC, you get better efficiency, you get soldered IHSs across the board.
You get longer-term support.
Longer-term support. You get more PCIe lanes and more expansion. And you also get the option on things like Threadripper and Epic to get more cores. And more cores per socket, I should say.
Pretty much the only thing you don't get, and this would have happened, but I almost have a feeling it's not going to, is Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt, yeah, there you go.
Because Intel said they were going to do that this year, and then they didn't.
Yeah.
And it's October, and I know people that work at Intel, and they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, fun stuff. So, Yeah, this could be amazing. I really, really, really hope that 13% is true, because that's going to be what really pushes AMD against Intel hard. It is like, why would you? The one reason to still buy Intel of better single core performance, especially because you can overclock them so high, would be negated.
Yeah.
So,
nice.
Kind of insane. And in more beautiful AMD news, this one is, take it with less of a grain of salt. This is according to Fudzilla, who's usually pretty good, and Hexus reported about it too. AMD has 7nm Navi in lab testing currently, according to these rumors here. And so they're performing better than expected. Not exactly sure what that means. But so what it looks like, though, is kind of unfortunately, but also kind of good for AMD, is Navi's going to be, in theory, a mid-range part to replace Polaris, right? And so rumor has it we could see, again, rumor has it, GTX 1080 level performance for around $250. What? That would be amazing. That's the kind of area where there's a lot of enthusiasts are like, well, we need to see AMD get on the top end in terms of GPUs. And I always disagree with them, because, like, yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah.
I would love to buy 2 top-end AMD cards and put them in Crossfire, but that's not what the generic consumer needs. And if you want what's best for competition in the market, which I feel like right now is even worse with NVIDIA via AMD versus Intel via AMD, if you really want the competition back, the mid-range is where it's at. And if people can get that kind of performance for $250, unless you're looking for top-end rig, there's no point in going with anything from NVIDIA. Yeah. There just isn't. I'm sorry, but why would you go with a 1060?
Yeah. $250 would get you 1080 performance and FreeSync.
There you go. So you're already saving another at least $100 on the monitor if you're going to an insane level monitor between $200 and $500.
Yeah.
And then even better is, like, even a 1070, right? So let's say you get a top-notch Navi card with top-notch extra cooler, so you're looking at like $350. That's about where a 1070 sits. This is still beating it in performance.
Yeah.
This, unless NVIDIA makes a move before this, because unfortunately the rumor is this is launching in Q3 next year instead of, we were hoping Q1, like after CES. So maybe NVIDIA has enough time to respond with something on the 7nm node that would beat this, right? Because what this looks like is the 7nm is what's giving AMD such a big jump, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like with both of these scenarios here, CPU and GPU. And so kind of interesting. Now, another thing to note is these are not multi-chip modules. These are monolithic dies. So they're single GPUs, something that both NVIDIA and AMD have talked about in terms of GPU, because AMD has already implemented this on the CPU end as a multi-chip module. That's what Threadripper and Epic is you have multiple physical dies that have an interconnect that's really, really fast. And that's something that they've talked about doing, and maybe NVIDIA is going to do with maybe like their 30 series on 7nm. Who knows? But this apparently isn't going to be that, although I wouldn't expect an MCM setup for $250.
Yeah.
Now, who knows, though? Maybe they will do that on a high-end card. They'll take 2 of these and put that in an MCM layout for $600 or something like that.
There's been those rumors of the 590. Have they been actually, like, any rumors of what the specs would be?
No, there has not been a lot, but that does remind me that I want to really complain about AMD as well right now.
Because what I was going to say is, what if that ended up being 2 Polaris chips with
like MCM?
Infinity Fabric in between as a way to test it before they went...
Okay, that could be really, really cool.
Yeah.
That could be amazing. So I will say, though, I want to complain about AMD for a minute, too. Did you hear about the whole RX 580 fiasco? Oh, so they released another RX 580. Okay, no, you're gonna
NVIDIA.
No, you're gonna adore this. You're gonna adore this. So NVIDIA's done horrible things like the DDR4 instead of GDDR5 on the 1030 and stuff like that, right? This is really this one, you guys. Ooh, okay. So you have the RX you have the RX 570. It has 2048 CUDA cores. CUDA cores. Ooh, stream processors. Okay. Woo, stream processors. Okay.
That's impressive.
Whoa. Anyway, stream processors. Okay. Right. So, and then you have the RX 580 that has like 400 more or something like that, right? Well, this RX 580 is the RX 580 2048. It's literally a RX 570 branded as an RX 580. Oh,
What?
but it does have 40 megahertz higher clock speed.
So it's like a third party.
It's literally an
570.
overclocked 570
It's a
with a 580 badge.
It's a third party 570, but made by.
And I'm like, how do you manage that? Now, as far as I understand it, they are at least calling it something different. Its official name is at least the RX 580 2048. So at least it's easy for people to differentiate, right?
But most people don't know what that means.
Okay, true, but also, why? What benefit do you get? Like, I feel like AMD and Nvidia both are just like, that'd be hilarious to release that. Just do it. Just do it. You know, like, I feel like they don't have, like, they're just trolling the crap out of the whole PC market. Unless it's like, is it a test to see what they can get away with? I don't know, because, like, with the whole 1030 fiasco where it's like, well, you can save $10 and get half the performance. It has the same name. What? And now we're sitting here like, oh yeah, well, you know, you can buy the RX 580 or the RX 570. Well, what's the difference? Absolutely nothing. Like, I don't understand. Like, oh well, I got the car with the V8. Oh yeah, I got the one with the V6. Oh, they're the same thing, dude. Mm-hmm. They're just 6 cylinders.
Yeah. So is Asus gonna release a 570 that's clocked faster than their 580?
No, what AMD needs to do is they need to release an RX 570 with the same amount of cores as a 580. So it's just like hit or miss what you buy. Oh,
and then a 590 with half the cores of a 570.
Yeah, something like that. Because that's ridiculous. So
AMD should actually sell all of their graphics cards for $100 and call it the Silicon Lottery.
Yeah, and it's just you might get a Vega 64, you might get an RX 550.
You might get a Navi top tier.
Who knows? You never know. And you see what they do? They never announce new products. Yeah. They just release them into the random stuff. So like some person coincidentally gets a GPU.
And they occasionally release like old Radeon GPUs.
Yeah, they find one in the back warehouse. Lisa's old one that she had sitting in her garage. Yeah. Like, oops.
And then they just randomly throw in
so it's loot boxes for GPUs. Yes. You just, you know what, you just got to buy more.
Actually, I could see Nvidia doing that.
See, well, you've got to do it in a way where your chances of getting the high tier parts are really good if you spend like $1,200. Mm-hmm. And then you have a bunch of extra GPUs just laying around.
Yeah.
Miners.
I could see them doing that. Just like crank the dial.
Yeah, exactly.
We need AMD to open a casino where you pull the lever
and a GPU comes out.
No, not just GPUs. So you have a bunch of different icons that can get you different things. You don't always win either, but sometimes you'll get a processor. Sometimes that processor will be a 32 core. Sometimes it will be a 2 core.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll get a GPU.
And out of the blue, you'll get like Radeon branded RAM.
I mean, they had that.
They did have that. So anyway, that whole thing made me mad. So AMD, get your crap together, but also please make your 7nm stuff good because competition, please, thank you.
All right. So next up is a big controversy surrounding Discord you may have heard about.
Now, let's preface this by saying the controversy is a lot of it's about misunderstanding.
And a lot of it other companies do too.
And also a lot of it is you can opt out.
Yeah, but I mean, let me explain this. So essentially there was a big change to their terms of service. This change is coming as a result of them being a game store. Being a digital store has a lot more risk of lawsuits, especially bullshit ones.
Oh yeah.
And so to minimize that risk of bullshit class action lawsuits specifically, they changed their terms of service, adding an arbitration agreement when it comes to class action. Now, a lot of people were like, hold up, what?
Yeah. Well, when I first read the titles, I was like, what? Yeah. I just...
So, yeah, they're working on essentially stopping class actions and it all going to arbitration. You can opt out by sending an email. You have 90 days to do so. Both for new accounts from whenever you sign up and for existing accounts from when you get the notification, which means whenever you open the app.
Yeah.
And you just send an email to them and it marks you as opted out.
And so that right there alone is like, what other company do you know that lets you opt out of this crap and still use the service fully?
So the Pixel 3 has an arbitration agreement.
So I should say easily.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, Discord, like, is kind of clear about.
Yeah.
You can opt out, by the way.
Yeah, it's in there. So it's not just in their terms and conditions. It's in their blog post about this, how to opt out.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like if it's a big deal that you opt out.
So yeah, the community got into a really big uproar. Discord listened, and they did actually make some changes to their original plan for the terms of service change. Ultimately, how things are working now is that it's U.S. only, because the U.S. is the concerned market.
Yeah.
Europe doesn't really have a class action system. They are talking about one.
Well, let's be honest,
However,
too. U.S. is so happy.
Yeah. But also, so with the proposed European class action system that they're working on, it actually has things to help prevent stuff like this.
Okay.
So even if that goes through, Discord wouldn't need these terms of service changes. Okay. Under that system. So some other things, though, that Discord's doing differently than anyone else. So if you want to file arbitration against them, any fees that might come because of your state or city or whatever that would end up being higher for arbitration than an actual lawsuit, they cover that difference for filing.
So explain to people what arbitration is in case they don't get it, because
So it's essentially a similar process to suing a company in that you go to instead of a judge, you just go to an independent arbitrator.
Right. Okay.
Who listens to the facts and then decides instead of a jury.
Okay.
That's really what it comes down to.
Okay, that makes sense. And I also asked for myself, so
yeah,
that was good. I knew what that was, but I had for whatever reason not heard the term matched up. So okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
So essentially, you have someone whose entire job it is listening to all of the facts and actually understanding things.
So like a mini judge.
Yeah, but
sort of.
But the difference is that the judges don't make the decisions in class action lawsuits.
Okay, that's true. Right,
people
right.
Do.
People do.
People who don't know all the facts might have their emotions make more of a judgment than the facts,
which is unfortunate. Yeah.
And when it comes to class action suits, it's at both a much higher scale. It's harder to appeal. There's so many other things involved.
Yeah. That
there is a lot of concern around frivolous class actions. So on top of paying the difference in filing fees. Discord also covers all arbitration costs as long as the independent arbitrator doesn't deem that completely frivolous. Even if they don't rule in your favor, if it's not found to be like malicious, they'll cover the fees.
Yeah. Okay. That's really cool.
So they're actually like making this almost for a legitimate consumer with a legitimate concern against Discord. They're almost making this a better experience than suing.
That's kind of what I was saying. Is what I was about to say was so Discord basically released a new terms of service that everybody got mad about that proves that they're a good company.
Yeah.
I
This part about the costs of arbitration was not one of the things they changed after community feedback. The main thing that's
been there, right?
The main two things they changed were the amount of time you have before you can opt out. And the fact that it's U.S. only.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay. And so really what this comes down to is I think they're being good about this. They're being like, they're not trying to make themselves untouchable. They're just trying to keep themselves from going out of business because of some horrible class action suit. Which even if they're guilty, unless it's really bad, I don't think a company necessarily deserves to be shut down. Yeah. And let's be honest, Discord's not an incredibly wealthy company. So a class action could shut them down. Yeah. It's not like against Google, a class action, they'd be like, okay,
Yeah. Realistically, if they didn't do this, they'd probably have to start charging more for Discord.
They would. I would think so,
in order to build up both a legal defense fund and then backup money for themselves.
They'd have to have a bunch of good lawyers on retainer and stuff too.
So it's just a big old mess if they were to go that route. I actually was reading some stuff, essentially like some notes from a YouTube video of a really good YouTube lawyer, like a lawyer who talks about stuff on YouTube, who was going through these terms, and he was in favor of it, and that's pretty uncommon for him from what I heard.
Okay.
So
it's really not that bad.
Yeah, the minor the downsides are outweighed by the goods of this. And again, you can opt out.
Yep.
Now, opting out of a class action arbitration or a class action arbitration agreement is almost pointless because you could only do class actions with other people who opt out.
Yeah, which means yeah. Well, yeah.
So
But I have a feeling a semi-significant amount of people are going to.
yeah. Oh, I've literally seen articles saying you should, like, not about the arbitration agreement in general, just saying you should opt out of Discord's arbitration agreement.
I
Just send an
disagree,
email.
but okay. Yeah.
Just if it's something you want to do, just send an email.
Yeah. Cool.
So
Okay, so now we're into the almost rapid fire or the not quite rapid fire section. So
yeah,
a couple of interesting topics here.
So this one was going to be a big topic, and then
this was like going to be top of our list above the Pixel.
Yeah, and then there was an update, and then we're also just going to wait a couple days because there'll be more info, so it's not really a big thing yet.
And by a couple days, we mean when you see this.
Literally the day you see this.
The day you see this, there'll be an update. So during this, right here, what we're talking about, you may want to also research it along with watching this. Just make sure you don't close our video.
Yeah, so essentially what the news is, Charlie from Semi-Accurate claimed that a source told him that Intel was canceling 10 nanometer. And not was, sorry.
Canceled canceled it.
It is canceled, according to his source. That seemed like a really big deal. We're not talking like canceled the current products. We're talking they actually just said we're
gave up
done
on
with
10 nanometer. Which at that point, like the idea behind that is if that was true, it was like, okay, Intel's done developing silicon. Because where are they going to move?
So from my understanding, what the idea would be behind doing this is that they would stop all of their current 10 nanometer. They would, for the next couple generations, continue to just do 14 plus. Right. And then start from scratch on a new process node. That was the idea.
I mean,
They clearly had a lot
and
of
they
issues.
could also
They clearly need to work on some things.
Yeah.
And so the idea was...
And they could work towards higher core counts, maybe MCM stuff, other things like that. There's options,
and so that was the idea. Now, Intel, which they normally do not tweet about rumors, but Intel straight up like tweeted, no, this is not true. Now, there's a few reasons they would do that. I don't think they're lying because they have an investor call coming up. And a rumor like this is going to decimate their stock if it went unchecked. They
correct.
tweeted within like an hour or two.
Yeah.
And
they just straight up said no.
Yeah. So. And I mean, ultimately, like, if this was 2 months out from an
investor call, might be,
you could see them saying,
but
no, we haven't done it, and then a month later, okay, we did it.
10 nanometer being canceled and then lying about it being canceled would both be big impacts on their stock. Together, that would be a force to severely damage the company.
Yeah.
So.
At that point, no investor would want to like trust them with what they're saying, and with how good AMD is doing, it's like...
Yeah. Then that would be some shifts. Especially because, you're right, trust is important when it comes to being an investor. So, you don't lie to them. Yeah,
Intel is saying that their... current yields are on track with what they are with their current most recent 10 nanometer schedule. So it sounds like, if they're being completely truthful with this, when they announced their most recent schedule for 10 nanometer, so far they've been hitting those goals that they needed to get it where they want.
Yeah.
And that rumor is backed up by the fact that we have seen information about a U-series dual core. And so that,
a U-series Ice Lake. Right.
Yes, Ice Lake,
which is important because that's their 10 nanometer stuff. Yeah.
And so what it sounds like is, they might do slow rollouts of less commonly sold products.
And I would also, ones that yields that are easier, where it's they get a 4-core and something's problematic, they can down it to a 2-core. As an example.
And then on top of that, being able to at least tell investors, hey, we've been actually getting this out there, it is getting better, and here's the actual proof in the market.
Yeah.
Is important.
I think so.
So,
next topic was one that was of particular interest to me because I'm a investor in terms of I've purchased it, of 3D XPoint. So Intel and Micron have worked together for a while to develop their 3D XPoint memory technology for SSDs. That's what's in Intel's Optane SSDs. It is not just developed by Intel. It's Intel and Micron together. They both own another basically joint venture called IM Flash Technologies. I am, not I am.
I am Flash Technologies.
So IMFT. Woo, IMFT. So anyway, the rumor has it that I believe Micron has already basically stated that they're planning on making a offer on Intel's 49% ownership of IMFT, and Intel was pretty quick to point out that don't worry, this won't interrupt our Optane roadmap at all. Like they didn't say it won't at all, and which makes sense. 3D XPoint's doing so well. Amazing technology. It blows my mind. It's what SSDs were to hard drives to SSDs. It's incredible stuff. But Intel also can still produce Optane and 3D XPoint in different locations, even if Micron owns IMFT, from my understanding, and decides to not sell the manufacturing. Like they don't manufacture for Intel, which I don't know why they wouldn't.
Yeah,
they probably would.
From my understanding, didn't at one point Intel and Micron kind of like branch off and do their own things a little bit with 3D XPoint? Like
they
exactly
have.
The same.
They have. And Intel's has been what I would say more. They've pushed harder to get into market than Micron. It's incredible tech though. Like I mean, insane endurance, insane random performance, in pretty insane sequentials.
Yeah.
And right now we're running in the limits of the controller and the PCI interface. So it's like when you run into those with SSDs, and then the fact that it also has latency in order of magnitude, literally lower than standard, flash SSDs. Pretty impressive tech. So I mean, I love 3D XPoint.
Yeah.
It's been having an SSD that on boot can push a 1950X to 100% to load up all of your startup applications. It's like, that's an impressive SSD.
I feel like you shouldn't have enough startup applications to do that.
But you get my point. Is when I was previously on SATA or even NVMe-based SSDs, it was like that was not happening. Yeah. So, very impressed with it. Now, global internet traffic is going up. I know that's not what this is about. I just said that anyway because it's true. So anyway, what is going on here?
So essentially, we got a new report, the most recent report of like a breakdown of internet traffic. Every once in a while, you'll see these reports come out showing, Netflix is 1,000,000% of the internet usage. It's not actually true. But
well, that'd be really weird if it was.
That'd be impressive.
I mean, beyond all of it, that's.
Way beyond all of it.
Earth is 1,000,000% of the universe.
So yeah, essentially we've got a breakdown of the distribution of downstream traffic based on different web applications. Netflix is the highest with 15% of all internet traffic globally.
Not surprising at all. Nope. Not even a little bit.
And then the next highest accounts for all HTTP media streams separate from these listed companies, and that is 13.1%. YouTube.
So what you mean by that is Pornhub.
Yeah, probably. YouTube is 11.4%.
Which actually surprised me how low that was in comparison to Netflix. Because YouTube is free. I would expect more people use it. And watch more content on it. Now, of course,
for one,
not as long of content.
Not as long. Lower bitrate.
It is lower bitrate. That's true. That's a good point.
I also think that
makes a big difference.
Yeah. A big part of it is YouTube is something that you might have on like a second screen while you're doing stuff, or you might load up a video while you're cooking, but it's not the type of thing you would leave running all the time. And there's literally like a subreddit for people that watched Netflix or now it's moved to Hulu, but like Futurama on Netflix while they're sleeping. Like they literally Futurama sleepers is a subreddit. It's amazing. I do it. Where you would play Futurama as you're going to bed.
You disappoint me.
I think that's the type of thing with Netflix is sometimes there's going to be a lot of situations where Netflix gets left on more. People want to go there to watch actual shows.
Yeah, okay. I suppose that
especially for people not our generation, but the generation above us that's shifting to streaming.
So Netflix, oh man, this is kind of sorry. Yeah, continue. That was mind-boggling.
Yeah.
To me. It's just...
So the people that, are much older than us that are switching to streaming, they're going to stick to the more traditional shows
rather than
than something like YouTube content.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's important to note. Prime Video is a whopping 3.7%.
That is actually surprising, considering Prime Video. I didn't think they were, like, Hulu's not on here as its individual thing.
No.
But Prime Video is, which makes you go, is Prime Video bigger than Hulu at this point? Yeah. Which wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
It's included for the $99 or $129 that people are already paying for shipping.
Yeah. So,
and they fucking email you a lot if you don't use it.
They do, don't they?
They email you, they prompt you when you buy stuff on Amazon, they prompt you when you open the app.
If you don't use
Prime Video or Prime Music. If pretty much whatever Prime service you don't use, they nag you to use.
Yeah.
Why?
Which is funny because you would think that costs them money.
But they want to lock you into their stuff.
Yeah, because then they can.
There's a bunch of other stuff in there. HTTP downloads account for 3.7%.
Wow, that's surprising.
All of
HTTP usage, period.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of aside from download specifically, which are separate things. So web browsing is 3.2% is what I would go to, which probably is 2% of that is Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
The surprising thing for me, though...
This blew my mind, actually.
Downloads for just PlayStation was 2.7% of the internet.
I don't quite understand.
PlayStation is mostly a US...
Why is Xbox not there? You know what I mean?
I would not expect it to be.
Really? You don't
not
think
at
so?
all. No, Xbox is way smaller this generation. It's not at all popular in Japan or most of Asia.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay. That's part of why Microsoft's been putting things more cross-platform with PC and why they've been making it a good companion console to the PC more, because they see people moving over there. And if you'd fix your Xbox game app, I might actually buy games from the Xbox game app store instead for my PC, and you'd make more money.
But why would you buy them when you could Game Pass for $10 a month?
Or that, which I'm actually going to probably get.
Yeah.
Because I should. Yeah, because I should. Well, I mean, I don't know, though. It's like, I don't know if I want to get that or Origin Access Premier or both.
I mean, let's be real. If you bought Origin Access Premier at the $100 a year and then you paid for Game Pass, that would be still cheaper than buying a game every 3 months. So, assuming you play one of those games, if you play one game from each service every other month, so like if you play an Xbox game 1 month and an Origin game the next month, you're saving $20
I might
a
jump
quarter.
onto this, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, game subscription services are a really good price compared to buying games.
Yeah,
I was surprised at how good of a price they are.
Yeah.
I don't think it's sustainable.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I don't see how it could be.
Yeah.
Unless microtransactions really make that much, which maybe they do.
Or they just sell a lot more DLC.
That too. So. Which, I guess, I don't know how I feel about that. That's something I have to form an opinion on. I don't even know what it would be. So this one was interesting. Dell, and more so Alienware specifically, is they're planning to expand Alienware to PC components. I mean, yes, I hope you do that. That'd be awesome. Now, this isn't a rumor. This is actually there's a standpoint behind this, but I said maybe for a reason. So, Frank Azor, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's the general manager for Alienware specifically, told PC Games N it absolutely is when asking about getting or about considering getting into the PC component market. So, quite literally, they asked him, "Do you think you'd get into PC components like motherboards and CPUs and stuff?" And he said, are you considering that? And it absolutely is something we're considering. So
I feel like you don't say that unless you're already working on it, not just considering it.
So we talked about it more like, okay, like they're working on it, but what he said directly, what was his concern was, how can they provide something that's better than what's already in the market? That's their concern, because Alienware's vision that's kind of been stuck the whole time is how do we make stuff better rather than just stuff?
Yeah.
Right? And how do they make a motherboard that's better, or a graphics card? I said CPUs earlier, I meant GPUs. Or a graphics card that's better than the Asus or something, right? Now, this would be totally cool. Alienware, especially with what you can do with Dell's support, right? Any product you purchase from them, you can purchase their pro support. And while it's expensive, guys, if you haven't ever had an experience with Dell's pro support, you need to read some reviews on it. it's incredible. And it's incredible for enterprise and regular stuff. Like, I should have bought it on this laptop. I didn't, and I should have, because if you buy their pro support, in most situations, it's like, oh, you have a problem with your computer? Oh, let us remote in and try a few things. Oh, that didn't work. Well, we'll have a guy out there tomorrow. He's going to have a box of parts and just start swapping stuff out till it's fixed.
Yeah, so my dad, when I was growing up, bought a computer from Best Buy, a Dell desktop, that actually included their pro support.
Oh,
because
that's
it was their like, for the time, their like almost like prosumer wasn't really called that then, but they're like prosumer tier computer.
Like XPS stuff.
It came with a first gen i7.
Okay, yeah.
But we had an issue with the hard drive, or with just in general, we were having issues with the computer. And this was before I knew how to troubleshoot things. And he called them up, and they tried a couple things, couldn't figure it out, came out the next day and replaced the hard drive.
Yeah.
Literally the next day.
They're that good. And what's even more interesting, and you can't always get this on their consumer stuff, but on their server stuff, it gets even better. They have, I'm not kidding you, they have same day pro support for their servers. It costs like 3 times the cost of standard pro support, but they'll send, like, you call them and it's like, oh yeah, we'll have somebody there in like an hour and a half. They'll just start replacing parts. So I will say, if they offered that with components, if you were buying like a $1,200 GPU, spending like $80 to buy pro support for it, I'd say, recommend that, especially if that pro support allowed you to overclock.
Yes, I was about to say.
See, right there?
Overclock.
Yeah. So now you blow something and they're just like, oh, okay. You know,
here's a graphics card.
Here's a graphics card. So Dell, I like Dell. I like Dell as a company. I like buying their products, not just because I do think they're genuinely good. I wouldn't say always the best in the market or anything like that, but they're genuinely good products. I think as a company, they tend to do good things. And Alienware is an expansion of that, and Dell already kind of makes stuff like this, so I could see them getting into this market semi-easily. Cool. I mean, I would definitely look into their products if they were making stuff, whereas like NZXT coming out with a motherboard, I was like, cool, it's probably crap. Oh yeah, it is. I mean, again, that's stability and BIOS and stuff like that problems. It's not actually a bad board, but
first gen product,
right? Whereas I feel like with Alienware, they could release a first gen board. I might legitimately consider it for something. So, all right. So now we're moving into our final section, though, our last little rapid fire section here. So it's funny though, is this actually probably will be about the same speed as the almost rapid fire, but
maybe the way you do it. So the first thing is that Google, and this has been rumored for about a week. But Google announced that they will be implementing an upgrade program for all of the content on there that is getting 4K content. So movies, TV shows...
So they're not pulling an Apple is what this comes to, right?
Apple, I'm pretty sure, actually did this. Didn't they?
Maybe they did. No, that's right. Apple had the other controversy of it getting pulled from the store and you not owning it anymore.
Oh, yeah, which is how digital stores work.
Which is how digital stores work. That's what DRM is.
So... Google is essentially confirming that all standard definition and high definition content from participating studios will be upgraded to 4K as soon as that content is available in 4K.
Now, when you buy movies from them, can you buy the standard definition instead of the high definition, or do they just have the movie?
You used to be able to.
Okay.
And so
now it's just the movie.
So if you bought the 4K version of a movie before, or you bought the HD version of a movie instead of standard definition, you paid more than you could have. But you also had access to that higher quality content before now. Okay,
I see. Okay. So what you're saying is you should have bought as much SD content as you could so that you can get upgraded to 4K for free?
Yeah, sure. So we don't have a word on exact studios that will be supporting this. However, I think that a good indicator is looking at the content that's available in 4K because a lot of stuff has dropped in price.
Which
presumably the companies that dropped the 4K content in price are probably the companies that are offering this.
I would think so, yeah. I mean, because at this point it's standard to just you film in 4K. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I would say a good amount of I would say the majority of big YouTubers, but also a good amount of medium YouTubers, maybe even the majority, film in 4K. At this point, movies are just filmed in 4K.
Yeah,
like
at this point, movies are filmed in 8K.
Well, big movies are. I'm saying even like indie movies, right? They're filmed in 4K.
Yeah,
they're filmed with
why would
red
you not? They're
cheap
enough
mm-hmm.
cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
So I mean, cool. I like seeing this becoming a thing. We're finally going to get 1080p Blu-ray quality from streaming, so that's nice.
Yeah, I'm still surprised nobody's got like a
premium
Tidal
streaming.
hi-fi like
a premium
option
streaming
now.
service. It's like 50 megabits per second.
Yeah.
Or something like that. That'd be really cool.
With a big old warning: do not use if you have data cap.
Yeah. I would love to see that. And I mean, it's like,
I wouldn't doubt
okay,
if data caps are why.
that could be, because I would pay like 25 or 30 bucks or 40 bucks a month for something like Netflix, or even 50 bucks a month. Okay, actually, I'll be honest. If it was like a ton of new content and a ton of new movies and stuff, I think $100 a month would be fair for something.
So
like
the
that.
Disney streaming service?
Yes. Except basically,
I also don't think $100 a month would be.
I think it would be fair because when you think about how much larger the files are, the server capacity is huge for that. Now, maybe not 100, but I'm talking like gets the new content too, right? Because like right now between Hulu and Netflix, you're paying like $25 a month right there, assuming you're getting Hulu with almost no commercials, right? And 4K Netflix, so you're paying like $25 a month right there. To get substantially higher bit rate and even more content than those two, maybe $75. I don't know. I'm just speculating with price.
That would not do well market-wise at all,
I
because
suppose.
that puts you at just having that is competitive with cable's pricing, and the reason people switched to streaming was mostly about pricing.
Okay, that's a good point.
We're already reaching
coming
a point,
from my perspective, I guess.
We're already reaching a point where streaming is too complicated.
We are.
We're starting to see so much exclusives that piracy is going to get worse again.
Yep.
It was starting to get
it's their
better
fault,
for the-
not
yeah.
ours,
Yeah.
so to speak.
I do think that at some point it's going to be pretty much Disney, Hulu, Netflix, and you're good.
And maybe Amazon, because they're doing their
I mean,
own
you'll
stuff
have it
now.
anyway.
Okay, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
But I mean,
because
like, the
that's
ones
how
that
Amazon
you'll actually
works.
seek out and subscribe to specifically will be Disney, Hulu, Amazon.
Yeah.
Because Disney's going to have a ton of content. Anything that Disney makes that's too adult for their service will be on Hulu.
Yeah.
And then Netflix.
I will say, and I hope Netflix continues to support like indie developers. They've done a decent job of that. Getting it on Netflix isn't too hard, but YouTube is also good at that, and Vimeo. But what I was going to say is, going back to Amazon and saying that how they're pushing you to use their services, I still just find that interesting, because it's like, if you do use everything that comes with Prime, that's like a stupid good value. Like stupid good. I don't quite, now of course Amazon Music Unlimited costs more,
Ultimately, what it comes down to, Prime has never been profitable.
No,
Prime is all about getting you to buy more stuff. That's
what makes it profitable.
There's a reason that they haven't bothered to make a good goddamn fucking website for their fucking Prime Video. I'm very upset about this. It's still garbage. It's literally just their store.
It's so bad.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
It keeps you in their store, which means when you're using their store, you might find stuff to buy.
Yeah, it's true. That's what all of Amazon's products are, is to get you to buy things. But, I'll be honest, things like the Amazon Dash, you run out of paper towels and you smack a button, is kind of convenient, right? I get that. So.
And Amazon is using that to take over industries.
They are, and it sketches me out. This is why I ordered some parts recently from Newegg.
I fully wouldn't doubt if Bezos is openly talks to people in his life about becoming that corporate conglomerate state.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're acting like they're going towards.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of sketch.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
But you know what you might like?
But
carbon fiber case.
I might be interested in this. So the Cooler Master C700P Carbon. It is a super limited edition. We don't know exactly how many models will be made yet, but it's actually based off of a mod competition. Cooler Master decided to make quite a few units of this, quite a few. But it's limited edition, and it's literally just aesthetic improvements. It's not like functionality or anything like that has been added to it. It is purely to look pretty and be cool and say that you have this. It's actually, surprisingly to me, only $1,000. Now, what is carbon fiber? The front panel has a bunch of carbon fiber on it. There's some other carbon fiber on it, and it's actual carbon fiber. It's not stickers or something dumb like that. And the handles on both the top and bottom are carbon fiber. The point isn't to make the case lighter, although it is. The point is purely for looks and saying you have carbon fiber in your case. But, I mean, $1,000 for what is already it's like a $250, $300 case and is, I'd say, pretty good. I don't think that's really that bad for something that's also limited edition.
Yeah.
If this was a mass production case that they were planning to sell a lot of, I'd say it needs to be more in that $500 realm.
Yeah.
But $1,000 for that, I mean, if you want to have a carbon fiber case.
What I want to see is a LAN box with carbon fiber. Handles,
Okay.
carbon fiber body, that type of thing. Mass produced. Let it be like the premium LAN box.
You know what they could do too is do some things to help reinforce stuff better. So if it, you go over freaking train tracks or something on your car while you're driving to a LAN, it doesn't let your GPU snap off the PCI slot, stuff like that. That'd be really cool. I'd like to see stuff like that.
Yeah, just make like the premium LAN box.
I mean,
Super
honestly,
lightweight.
I mean, I would probably buy one because I like cases, even though the LANs are at my house. I'd probably buy one. So,
see, what you need is the premium LAN box and a USB powered screen. That way you can walk around and look at your screen and then look at people's gameplay and judge them at your LANs.
I think that's a great idea. And then I won't have a laptop anymore. I'll just take it to work. Stuff like that. In college,
You need a carbon fiber mechanical keyboard that you glue to your carbon fiber LAN box.
I like it. You know what I actually almost did in college? I was actually considering this. No, trust me. This would have been interesting because of how cheap it was. Because their computers suck there. And most of them. I was actually considering buying one of the Intel compute sticks and just using that for school. Now, keep in mind, they have monitors, mice, keyboard, and everything there that I would need. And the Intel compute stick, they were all hard drive based computers, and the Intel compute stick had an SSD. So it would actually be faster, but I came to the conclusion that it didn't have the software that we would need. So, and that was like paid software. But yeah, wouldn't that be interesting?
That's amazing.
I mean, hey, I actually think the compute stick's a good idea. Being able to, if that's all you need for a computer for, work and home, you've got something that you slip in your pocket when you go to work, you plug it in at work, and then you slip in your pocket, you come home.
And you slip in your pocket and go to school, and then you slip in your pocket and you come home, and then you slip in your pocket and go on vacation, and then you slip it in your pocket and come home, and then you slip it in your pocket and go for a drive, and you slip it in your pocket and you drive back home, and then you slip it in the pocket when you go to the strip club, and then you slip it in your pocket when you come back home, and then you slip it in your pocket when you go upstairs, and you slip it in your pocket when you go back downstairs. You slip it in your pocket when you go to the gym, you slip it in your pocket when you come back from the gym.
Why? What is wrong with you?
I'm crying because Devil May Cry 5 has an insane limited edition case coming out. Case. Woo! Game. I said case.
I mean, look, you could buy a lot of those cases for the cost
for
of
this. So this is great, guys. So you can get Dante's coat along with the limited edition version of the game. Don't worry, it comes with the game for the low price of only $8,000. But don't worry, if you're a poor person, you can get Nero's jacket instead for the measly price of $6,500. And if you're really poor, I don't know what's wrong with you at this point, you're just broke in a ton of debt, you can buy the one that comes with V's. It's not really a jacket, it's like a straight coat type thing for $5,300. Yeah, see, I don't know why you'd buy that. I think that really, honestly, I mean, I can't even joke about it with a straight face because of how insane this is. I mean, okay, as long as the jackets are insanely good quality and they support them, so you rip off a button, they don't go, sucks for you, then, I mean, you know what, if you're that big of a fan, I guess go ahead.
Let's be real, they won't.
Probably not, no.
They're not a clothing company, unless they have a clothing company backing this.
But, I mean, if it's just one person building these, because I don't expect more than, 10 people to buy these. I mean, maybe. I don't know. There are some big fanboys of this series. It's a great series of games, and I'm planning to buy it if it comes to PC, which it should.
I feel like for this, if they haven't, they really should have worked with an established
company that
super high quality clothing brand to make this, just so that it has that place to go to.
Like Fruit of the Loom or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Somebody that can. Yeah, I think I. Yeah, but you know what though? If they do fly a guy to your place to fix it or something, I don't think that's gonna happen though, because that would be too expensive to do over and over. But I mean, if you're a big fan, I guess it's a cool thing to have. I think it's insanely overpriced, but I guess if you're gonna do limited edition, you're doing it right.
These were all handmade by one guy.
Yeah, so it's I think they're doing limited edition right, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of limited edition stuff is just dumb.
Yeah.
So, I like this. I think it's actually okay. It's
My
just
biggest
insane.
problem with limited editions really comes down to when you have a limited edition that is like super high end, not even like this super high end, but like we're talking like the $200-$300 limited editions.
Yeah.
That on top of the thing that makes it special, like a coat or like a figure or something, also includes digital like game content locked behind that tier. Like, I already don't like $80 digital content tiers that come with like exclusive content for the game. But when you have like an $80 like digital deluxe version, and then you have $250 collector's edition that has stuff that's not even in the digital deluxe edition or the regular game. Like,
at that point, it's kind of like, I agree. I don't like locked content. Locked physical items are one thing, you know, but locked digital is a problem. Yeah. So I mean, again, I actually think they're doing this right, even though it sounds insane. I think they're doing a good job here. I think this is cool. The diehard fans will buy it and they'll freaking cosplay with it. So yeah, very cool. Fingerprint reader from Samsung.
Yeah, so Samsung patented a new type of under-display fingerprint reader. We've seen some of those before, but this isn't just a button or a bit of a panel. This is the whole screen.
Oh! That's cool.
So you can just, wherever you grab your phone, it unlocks pretty much on the front.
That would be really nice.
So if you put your phone in your pocket upside down accidentally, you grab it out, you just spin it because it's already unlocked.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Okay, Samsung, I like that. And you know, it'd be nice for payments and stuff too.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. Okay.
And this ties in with some of the other stuff that we had talked about before of, you know, the under-display camera, things like that. Yeah. Samsung stepping up the game with the under-display tech. Yeah.
Good work, Samsung. I mean, leave it to them, I guess, right? Well, that's all we have today, guys. I think that was an excellent podcast. A lot of really, really good news. I mean, kind of crazy stuff. Don't buy a Pixel. Stop buying Google products. Yeah, AMD might be making some huge comebacks, more than previously, which is weird because of how big of a comeback they've had recently.
And opt out of your Discord arbitration agreement if you want to.
Yeah. And Intel's not canceling 10 nanometer. That's another good little summary there. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching. This was episode 67. I think this was great. Next one's 68, and the one after that's the big lucky number. So
oh man, we're 12-year-olds.
We're 12-year-olds?
Yeah. Maturity wise.
Oh, I thought I was a 12-year-old. Never mind. Anyway, thank you. So anyway, thank you everybody, and we'll see you all in the next one. We've got some interesting content coming for some Roswell products actually, so that'll be pretty exciting. Yeah, pretty cool. Got some actually pretty impressive stuff actually. I'm pretty satisfied. So, all right. Thank you everybody, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Thank you everybody, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you everybody, and we'll see you in the next one.